Welcome back to Valencia. It's the final race of the 2019 FIM CEV Repsol Moto3 Junior World Championship. Steve English and Fran Wild here in Spain to guide you through the action, and we should see another classic race here in the Moto3 class. This is the final race of the year for all these riders. This is the opportunity for them to go out on a high. We've already seen Jeremy Alcoba crowned the champion for this year, so everyone's out there now just trying to fight it out to make sure that they're able to finish the year strong and try and use it as a building block for next season. For these Moto3 riders, a lot of them are going to get the opportunity to move up next season to the World Championship, including the likes of Alcoba and Carlos Tatay, first and second in the championship standings. In fact, off the line, Tatay on the 99 was able to make a good start, but keep an eye out for Pedro Acosta into this afternoon's race. The number 37 was able to get himself into those leading positions. This is only his fourth race at the CEV Moto3 level, and he's immediately at the front. The 52 of Alcoba found himself in the midfield mire, but he was able to consistently keep himself out of trouble and just edge his way through the field throughout the course of this opening race of the weekend. You can see Barry Bultus, he was trying to make sure that he was opening doors all the way through proceedings, and he was able to try and be as combative as we've seen him all the way through the season. At the front of the field, Alcoba was able to pick off Daniel Holgado there. Holgado on the Estrella Galicia bike, once again competitive here, but a late race crash would rob him of the chance of fighting for the podium. Let's see what he can do from the front row of the grid for race 2. At one stage there was 15 riders all scrapping it out in that leading group, but they fell by the wayside one by one. Dennis Onchu was one of those riders, and Turk will finish off his CEV season and try and get himself onto the podium for the first time this season. Further down the field, Alcoba came close with Carlos Tatay and also one of the Asia Talent team riders, and that was the difference for Tatay. It pushed him all the way down the order. That was Danny Holgado. He ran into the back end of one of the riders in front of him, and that's what took him out of being able to challenge in those final laps. But Alcoba was able to make sure he was in a position to try and fight it out, and he was able to take that checkered flag just in front of Aleix Viu and José García. Viu would then be given a penalty and drop down to third position, with José García elevated to second position. With the championship secured, Alcoba was able to celebrate, and his team certainly enjoyed the moments down in Parc Ferme. They've had a few hours to clean that bike up from the rubber from that burnout, and now Alcoba's got the opportunity to try and cap off his season with another race victory. He's gunning for his fourth win of the season, and you certainly wouldn't bet against it. We're here at the Ricardo Tormo circuit in Valencia, and as you can see, this is pretty much as good a conditions as you can expect for this time of year down here. Blue skies, not too much clouds, it's quite warm, but there is a wind that's blowing across this Valencia circuit, and it is going to make it a little bit of a challenge for these riders, particularly into the right-handers. You can see there's only 5 right-handers through this lap, but crucially you tend to spend a long time on that left hand side of the tyre, so it's very easy for the right hand side to get a little bit too cool. You can see the temperature has risen from when the Moto3 riders were out earlier on this morning. It's up to 25 degrees track temperature now, but it won't feel that hot with the wind chill kicking in for these riders as well. So it is going to be a big challenge for everyone to manage to keep themselves clean, keep themselves into the leading positions in this race as well. We saw in the opening race of the day that there was 15 riders scrapping it out for the race lead. If you were in that leading group, not only were you fighting for the race win, you were able to be the only riders fighting it out for the points. They were able to open up a big gap to everyone else, and now the key thing is going to be whether or not we're able to see that repeat itself here in race 2. On the pole, Davide Pezzoli, his first ever career pole in the CEV Moto3 Junior World Championship, and once again we saw from Pezzoli that he just wasn't quite able to carry the same pace all the way through in race 1. He was in that leading group, finished in 12th, but it was only at the end of the race that we really started to see some pace from him. He finished on the podium here at the opening races of the year in Valencia, and he also had a podium in Aragon, but he'll know the importance of trying to make sure that he's able to score another rostrum finish today and convert that pole position. Second on the grid will be Danny Holgado on the number 96 machine. Holgado, of course, only 14 years of age, and he was able to make his debut here in Valencia just days after his 14th birthday. He missed the opening round of the year because he was too young, but as you can see, it hasn't held him back this year. He scored 2 podiums, including one at Valencia and one last time out in Albacete, but he's been a regular front runner all the way through the season, and his form in those opening few rounds, as you can see there, a 4th, a 3rd in Valencia, at Le Mans in front of the Grand Prix paddock, he was able to finish 4th, and then a 5th place finish in Catalonia as well, showed just how much potential he has. And Holgado really has been one of the surprise packages all the way through this Moto3 Junior World Championship season. He'll start from 2nd on the grid, and he'll be looking to try and make sure that he's able to fight it out once again in that leading group, because he was really strong in race 1. He was able to make sure he was constantly able to get himself into those scraps at the front. Carlos Tatay, that we can see here, he's seen his championship hopes erased. But for Tatay, the Red Bull Rookies champion from this year, he's going to try and make sure that he finishes the season on a high. As you can see, he's already picked up 3 race victories this season, Catalonia and 2 in Jerez. So he has shown decent form all the way through this campaign. Sits 2nd in the championship, and for Tatay, it's all about trying to make sure that he ends the season on a high. On the 2nd row of the grid, and there's a host of riders that can come through as well, Fran. The likes of Ryusei Yamanaka was looking quite combative in that opening race of the day. He's certainly going to feel that he's going to have an opportunity to try and scrap it out and get himself up into those podium spots again.
He is indeed. Yeah, there's a bit of an Estrella Galicia shuffle late on in race 1 that definitely put paid to this man's chances of taking the podium or the top step, but he has done it before here in Valencia. You can see the 3rd race of the season, he outdueled compatriot Yuki Kuni to take that victory, so he knows he can do that. And I'm sure he'll be aiming to get another podium before the end of the year. Last chance now for a lot of these guys who, like Yamanaka, are moving up into the Moto3 World Championship next year. Yeah, there is a lot of riders making that step as well, Fran. It looks like there's probably 5 or 6 riders in this field that are going to get the opportunity to race in the World Championship. A lot of them have raced already in the World Championship as wildcards through the course of the season as well. Yeah, wildcards, and in the case of Alcoba as well, injury replacing Gabriel Rodrigo at Gresini a little earlier in the year. So yes, we've got a few guys who've got a bit of experience at the higher level as well. And Xavier Artigas, not one of the more experienced, but as you can see, definitely one of the front runners in this season. Really impressive stuff from him. Yeah, Artigas, having stepped up from the European Talent Cup where he won that championship last year, he's been able to have a really strong campaign in the Moto3 class this year. He's got a chance to finish runner-up as a rookie, Fran, and he certainly wouldn't be one of those riders that you'd look past if he was given an opportunity to already step up to the World Championship as well. He's had a really strong season. Yeah, definitely, and it's a really, really impressive step up that he's made, like we said, to go from ETC to then, yeah, with a chance to become runner-up this season. Really, really good stuff from him, and definitely one to watch. As could this man be, certainly going forward in the future. Yeah, Pedro Acosta, you can see the results there from Jerez really showed exactly what he can do. That was his debut in the class as well. So he's been able to jump straight in as a top 5 runner. He qualifies 6th place here, and he had the potential, Fran, as well in race 1 to be able to be in that scrap at the front as well. So keep an eye out for the number 37. He made a great start in race 1 as well. He did, yeah. I think there's a few people who could do a little bit more maybe this afternoon. Certainly, well, the temperature's not gone up too much, but at least it does seem a little bit better. And you can see then we've got some world champion leathers on here for Jeremy Alcoba, who wrapped up that title just this very morn. I'll tell you what, it's bad enough whenever you see riders out there with helmets for the championship, but to go for the effort of having those leathers as well, that shows a lot of confidence for Alcoba. It does, and it also showed that he thought he was definitely going to wrap it up in that first race, because otherwise there wouldn't have been the opportunity to wear them. So nice confidence there from Alcoba, and like we said earlier, if you did join us for race 1, richly deserved, very, very consistent front-running performance from him this season, and good stuff, and yeah, wrapped it up in pretty good style in race 1. Dennis Onju. Unfortunately, Fran, you couldn't really say the same for Dennis Onju's season. This has been probably one of the biggest disappointments through the year. Onju, we saw crash out of race 1 here in Valencia. He's had that misfortune multiple times through this season, whether it's been crashes or technical problems from podium positions, but Onju just hasn't lived up to the billing of what was expected of him for this season. No, he hasn't, and I think what he was gesturing there was a thank you for rebuilding my bike and getting it all shiny and new to head out here. And as we saw earlier today, Yuki Kuni, then the leading junior talent team rider on the grid, just paying his respects to Fridza Munanda, who sadly passed away in an incident in the Asia Talent Cup race at Sepang last weekend. And yeah, I'm sure, like you said earlier as well, all those guys in the JTT and all those who've met and raced against Monanda will be thinking of him just here, just as they did in Sepang, definitely racing for him. And there's some great words from MotoGP World Champion Marc Marquez on that as well. And why you go racing again and you chase your dream, because that's exactly what they were doing, and it's the best way to pay your respects in such an awful situation that we've had.
Yeah, exactly. And for all the riders, after an incident like that, it does always just make them evaluate themselves, and it also shows them why they want to go racing, why they love going racing, and trying to make sure that they're able to finish their seasons on a high as well. This is, of course, the final race of the Moto3 Junior World Championship. Davide Pezzoli starts from pole position.
He does, and I'm sure he'll be aiming to get a little bit more from it than he did earlier in the day. So yeah, pretty good pole position from him, over a 10th clear of Daniel Holgado in second. But yeah, there are a few interesting little shuffles in that first race. Like we said, those Estrella Galicia guys, especially Yamanaka, got a little bit caught out in that one. And then yeah, Onchu wasn't really a feature in the latter half after that crash. Some interesting stuff to watch for in this one. And Jeremy Alcoba unleashed from his championship pressure as well. And these guys as well, Baltas, Garcia, Noguchi, Aleix Viu, Aji, Koffler, Salvador, Jesperson, all in that fight for the points and even further forward as well. Definitely not to be counted out. Adrian Fernandez, Max Cook, identical lap times you can see there. Dupasquet, Van Erde, Riu, Morosi, Perez, Bertelli and Iqmal. 2 points for a sick racing team earlier in the day. Very, very well deserved. A long road to that, and congratulations to them. Then you can see it's a very deep field. Another 3 full rows, and we're not even at the back of the grid yet. So let's, yes, I'm sure we'll have another pretty interesting competitive race here to round out the season. And rounding out the grid is Alex Diaz then. And you can see even right on the back 2 rows of the grid, the lap times really, really close together, almost nothing to decide it. And yet a couple with identical times on there as well. It must be so frustrating.
Yeah, and that's the key thing here in the CEV class. And in Moto3 in general as well, we see just how demanding this series can be, because every single lap these riders have to be absolutely on the limit, whether it's in the CEV Championship or in the World Championship, Fran. You need to always be on it, otherwise you just find yourself down the back of the field. Every lap there's pressure. Yeah,
absolutely, and every lap there's a whole heap of guys looking to make their way past you. And yeah, we saw earlier on we had a good little freight train at the front fighting it out that was initially for all the points, and a little bit less as we had a couple of incidents and those fall by the wayside. But it's always a fierce battle, even to score a point here, and doing so is no mean feat. So yeah, it's going to be a good one, I think, to end the season. And definitely without that championship pressure, have to see what Alcoba can do, because he is a little bit further down that grid.
Is that what you're looking forward to in this race, Fran?
I don't know. I'm just looking forward to another great Moto3 race. One of the greatest categories on God's green earth, for just some of the crazy stuff, some of the amazing moves they make. And yeah, it's always a good, certainly last 3 laps is always one of the best shows you can see in motorsport.
Yeah, I think I'm really excited to see what happens between Carlos Tatay and Xavier Artigas as well. There's only 6 points separating them in the championship standings. Of course, for Artigas, he's going to need to make up 7 points, because with Carlos Tatay having won 3 races, he'd win the count back. But that's going to be one of the interesting things for me, because in this leading group, you could easily have a big group of riders. There's the championship standings as it is right now as well.
Yeah, and you can see as well, Barry Baltas not mathematically out of that, but that would lead a bit more drama to occur for the Belgians to take over in second. But yeah, it's always, there's been a lot of second places, third places overall on the line today, and this one is no different. So yeah, Tatay then new target after he did lose out on that championship chance this morning to try and wrap up that second place.
Yeah, and you can see the riders just making their way through to the front of the field there. That's Xavier Artigas, and he's just trying to make sure already on the way to the grid, Fran, that he's getting the elbows out as well.
Absolutely, so definitely intentions fairly clear for the number 24.
Davide Pezzoli starts on pole position here in Valencia from Daniel Holgado, and then Carlos Tatay on the outside of the front row of the grid. Everyone's getting themselves ready for the red lights to come on. It's an 18-lap race here for the Moto3 class. The lights go out, and it looks like it's a good start from Carlos Tatay this time. Pezzoli's bogged down a little bit off the line. He's been engulfed by the rest of the field. It looks like Tatay's made a good start. Acosta as well on the 37. Is he going to get the whole shot down in towards turn 1? You can see Artigas on the 24, Fran. He's been able to manage to get his way through to the front as well.
Yeah, good start from Artigas straight for that inside line and able to take that whole shot. Good stuff from him. And Tatay then it's slotting into second. It's already a bit of a shuffle back there for a few guys. See one of the JTT riders heading around the outside. That'll either be Cooney or Noguchi. Have to see when we come back here. It's Cooney, I believe. So he's made a little bit more progress off the line this time around. But yeah, good stuff. And Alcoba again. Those wily, more experienced riders just able to make the most of that start this time around and get themselves into a position to start fighting it out at the front.
Yeah, Alcoba coming from the third row of the grid to move himself up into fourth position. You can see Dennis Onchu, he's going to send it down the inside, and we've seen that a lot this season from Dennis Onchu. He's not afraid to try and make those moves, but he's able to make it nice and cleanly here on the opening lap of the race. As you said though, Fran, Yuki Cooney up there in fifth position, he's been able to make a much better start this time around.
Yeah, he most definitely has. And in race one, it was Dennis Onchu that we saw really making progress from a little bit further back on the grid, but this time around it's Alcoba and Cooney, both off that third row, who've rocketed forward a little bit. But you can see, I think it's Barry Baltus is that, who's made some good progress through the Ángel Nieto team. Really nice livery, black and gold there, who has got through, and ahead of Cooney, who, yeah, he was just behind a couple of corners ago, so it's already all to play for in this group at the front.
Oh, and we've got a crasher right here at the start of the race. That's number 36 that's gone down. And unfortunately for Isman Akel, that's going to be the end of his season. But you can see at the front of the field, Xavier Artigas still able to hold on to that race lead. Really good performance here on the opening lap of this race. Really
solid stuff from him, yeah. And it is a bit of a heartbreaker that after we just said the Sick Racing team scored some points this morning. So early heartbreak for them with Ikmal. But yeah, Artigas then really got the bit between his teeth at the moment and starting to at least able to hold on to that lead fairly comfortably. But it's Alcoba. Oh, bit of a shuffle there, guys. The track is further to your left. But you can see Alcoba up in that fight. Baltus then heading through there, trying to get a 2-for-1. Don't think he's quite pulled it off. But, oh, maybe he has. So nice stuff from the number 7 as well. Absolutely not. So good stuff from him. But then Tatay already then able to take Artigas and take over at the front of this race. Looking pretty confident is the number 99 at the moment. But Artigas, like we said, as a rookie coming into this season, really, really impressive stuff from him.
Yeah, I have to say he's been one of the real stars this season for me. Himself and Daniel Holgado, probably the two biggest surprise packages through the course of the season. Two rookies that have been able to just constantly fight themselves at the front of the field. They find themselves third, and for Holgado, he's been a podium man all the way through this season as well. So really impressive stuff from those two riders. Artigas just looks comfortable out there as well. That Leopard team, of course, Fran, they've had a lot of success this year in the World Championship with Lorenzo Della Porta. They look like they've got a real star in their hands in the form of Artigas as well.
Yeah, definitely. He's been very impressive throughout the year, like you said. And yeah, that team champions with the world champion Della Porta as well. It's yeah, really good outfit to be part of. And likewise, it goes both ways. They've got a really good rider in Artigas as well. And right back in this battle again at the front from the whole shot, still able to stay with these guys, although it looks like Alcoba is just going for a move down the inside. And yeah, so it's still the number 99 then that Jeremy Alcoba is focused on in this race, and just trying to make sure he stamps a little more authority on the season, I think, with the final win of the year, doubtless his key aim right now.
Yeah, for Alcoba on the 52, once again we just see a nice clean move from him. He just constantly finds a way to always just make those moves without costing himself too much time as well, Fran. That's been the real hallmark of his season. You can see there Salvador in the 38 running out wide, another rider in the background also running out wide.
And a couple of other tens of riders just heading over that green stuff there. They need to be a little bit careful about that. We've seen a couple of penalties already today for track limits, but at the moment no such dramas for these lead four. You can see a little bit of daylight back to the number 6 of Ryusei Yamanaka on that Estrella Galicia machine. But I am very sure that the Japanese rider will be one who is able to just make up that gap and probably tag back onto the back of its number 7 Barry Baltus in 4th at the moment.
Yeah,
getting a bit feisty.
See Aleix Viu there, yeah, just trying to, and he runs out wide. But for Aleix Viu, who's of course on the podium in the opening race of the day, and he's trying to make sure he's able to get himself through it. He waited late in race 1 to be able to get himself through to the front, Fran, but looks like he's trying to make sure he can make those moves a little bit earlier now.
Yeah, most definitely. He almost popped up, not out of nowhere, obviously had a really good race within that group. Oh, Baltus getting feisty already, heading up into 3rd past Artigas and his old ETC sparring partner. Another one who moved up very quickly is Barry Baltus. But yeah, who are we saying? Aleix Viu. Yeah, he seemed to kind of appear from the mid of this group in race 1 and take that podium. Impressive stuff from him. And we've also mentioned his bad luck of recent seasons as well earlier on, so it was good to see him back on the box. And yeah, it's just closing up a little bit, I think, between those front 4 who initially looked like they've really been able to stretch away, but Yamanaka putting in the groundwork to try and tag back onto the back of, is it Baltus still in 4th? No, it's Artigas, and now it's all going to change again. 3 wide into turn 1. Classic, and Artigas gets that 3rd place back.
Yeah, good move there from Artigas to get himself up into that 3rd position. But you can see, as you said, Fran, Yamanaka is coming, and he's bringing with him a train of riders that's being led by the likes of Pedro Acosta as well. Acosta doing a good job here in only his 4th start in the CEV Moto3 class. So good performance there from the Red Bull Rookies race winner to be able to keep himself in those top 6 spots. Ryo Yamanaka, though, he's the fastest man on the track. You said that, Fran, last time round. He looked like he was the one that was closing the gap.
Don't you love it when it's proven that we're actually at least partly know what we're talking about? So yeah, he's as you can see then already on the back of that Ángel Nieto Team machine that's in 4th place at the moment. So good job from the earlier in the year Valencia race winner, number 6 on the Estrella Galicia 00 machine. And it looks like we're going to get another classic freight train in a minute if the guys behind Yamanaka can just stay with him, who, like you said, led by a pretty impressive performance from Pedro Acosta.
Yeah, and you can see here at the front of the field that Alcoba just trying to make sure that he doesn't get duffed up too badly, because once you start to fall and lose a couple of spots in this group, you could easily see that compounded and drop all the way to the back of the group. You can see at the back of the group, it does look like it's Max Koppler once again that is bringing up the rear of this group. So that means that there's around 20 bikes in this leading group right now. That's pretty much half the field, Fran.
It literally is half the field, and a lot of them won't even score a point even for being in the lead group. If it were to end now, it's obviously the top 15 who take points home. So yeah, I'm sure it'll get whittled down a little bit as we tick down through the laps. But at the moment, it's Tatay in the lead of this race then, the Red Bull Rookies Cup champion. But Artigas might be looking to change that again already. And yeah, a couple of impressive performances in this lead group. You can see Baltas and Artigas both looking like they've definitely come to party in this 2nd race of the day and final of the season.
Yeah, Baltas, of course, winner of the opening races of the year in Estoril in his 2nd year in the Moto3 class. Last year, of course, he had pretty decent on occasions, but this year he's been a lot more consistent. That's where he finds himself 4th in the championship standings right now as well, the Belgian, and he's trying to make sure that he's got a chance of finishing the year on the podium. He's putting the pressure onto the champion Jeremy Alcoba on the number 52 machine. So Baltas, he's always willing to try and make a move as well from it, and you'd imagine down into the likes of turn 11, he's probably going to just try and force that move as well on this lap on Alcoba, because he's not afraid of reputations. He just always tries to make those moves and try and get himself through into the positions in front of him. So he's always aggressive out there in the number 7 machine.
Yeah, oh, it looks like maybe we've had a little bit too much aggression. That's it. Poleman Davide Pizzoli then out of this race, and the number 76 of Hiral as well. So that's a bit of a drama. Don't know what's gone on with those guys. Maybe we'll see a replay.
Yeah, it's down at turn 2, so probably just got a little bit too close to one another on the run down into there. Very easy for that to happen through those sections as well, because you do tend to just see riders try and make those block passes, try and be a little bit too aggressive on occasion into turns 1 and 2. But you can see here at the front of the field, Carlos Tatay doing a good job to stay in front of all the aggression, and it is getting quite aggressive down there as well. That's David Salvador on the 38 that's just been elbowed out of the way by Aleix Viu, and Daniel Holgado now in the 96 trying to put himself into a position to move himself back up through the field. He's recovering, having dropped down as low as 13th earlier in this race.
Yeah, and Salvador was pretty impressive this morning as well, and he's coming from the middle of the 6th row as well, so it's no mean feat to be a presence in the front group as well, because it's not the first lap, it's not a good start, and then he's going to fade back. He's once again fighting it out with these guys. Pretty unmissable colour scheme as well. That livery definitely stands out. I think it's the easiest bike to call on the whole grid.
Yeah, definitely. It would remind you of like Louis Salam's old paint schemes and things like that. And of course for David, he's been able to have a good performance so far today to be able to get himself into those leading groups, and once again trying to make sure he's in a position to try and attack during this race. You can see Jeremy Alcoba though with those championship winning leathers, Fran, he's getting duffed up everywhere.
He is. I think there might be a few little bits of extra colour scheme on those by the end of this race. So a few of the guys who've been on the podium today, a lot of rubber on those leathers. So yeah, it's definitely aggressive out there in all categories.
Tiger Tony down there in the pit box as well. Of course, Tony Elias
just peeking out the back there.
I'll tell you what, he probably needs to get himself onto a stool as well. Tony quite diminutive down there in the back of that pit box. Of course, racing over in the Moto America Championship these days is Tony Elias, but he came through the CEV Championship in the 125 days and then moved on to the 125 World Championship, 250 World Championship. He's of course a MotoGP race winner as well, Elias, and now, as I said, racing superbikes over in the US.
Yeah, was it 200ths or 300ths? No, thousandths rather, that race in Estoril. So yeah, Grand Prix winner Tony Elias, always good to have those guys in the house. But we can see a lot of encouragement from there down on the pit wall then. It always amazes me how they put the positions on the board as well. Like, that's going to be out of date pretty much as soon as they've gone past you. I
just love the fact that they're giving Moto3 riders encouragement to go. These guys are always on it. You can see with Alcoba, though, he wasn't on the racetrack there. He was all the way out wide on the run through turn 1. That's something that all these riders have to keep an eye on. The track limits aren't a recommendation, they're a requirement. You've got to make sure you stay within those white lines and avoid the green paint. But for these riders in the leading group here in Valencia, France, this is one of the tracks where we always see riders running out all the way out from those track limits. A few wide, and also a few little bit of corner cutting at a couple of apexes. You can just go in a little bit too tight. You can see then Cooney then got a little bit beaten up after that better start than he had in race 1, but still a presence in this group. And yeah, it's getting a little bit feistier out there now. You can see Acosta just going for a move on Cooney. Yep, the Japanese rider more than aware that he's there. And then yeah, that luminous orange just looming large behind him as well. It's yeah, thank you. He's just giving me a thumbs up for that lovely little play on words. But it's getting pretty close out there now, and obviously everyone's aware this is their last chance of the year to get on the podium or to score some good points and to go out on a bang in 2019. So that's exactly where you can also run afoul of track limits without necessarily being too wide, just a little bit too tight. Yeah, Fran, the key thing is, as you can see, all the riders fanning out down into the last corner here. But for all these riders, Fran, they're going to put themselves into position, put themselves in the shop window for next season. You've got riders that are racing in the Red Bull Rookies Cup, the CEV Moto3 class, obviously, but also they're going to put themselves into an opportunity to get themselves onto good Grand Prix rides for next season. This is a real chance to be able to show exactly what you can do. Yeah, definitely. And like we said at the start of the show on the grid as well, there's a few names who will be moving up for definite next season, but there's a few as well. Not everything's decided yet, so there's still much opportunity to show what you've got. And also to other teams in the CEV, maybe if you are a bit of a newer comer to the class, although I'm sure the likes of Artigas already put himself in a pretty good shop window already. Yeah, I think if I was the team manager in the Moto3 World Championship, Artigas is one that I'd be looking at. But interestingly, here in Valencia, we're also hearing that the likes of Lorenzo Falana is going to move on to that Estrella Galicia bike for next season in the Moto3 class. So already these teams are all trying to find the next generation for the CEV class as well. And you can see with Ryusei Yamanaka, one of the riders that is guaranteed to be moving up to the World Championship next year, Fran, he's been able to move himself up into second spot there, able to make some nice clean moves there. Yes, definitely. He's going to be one to watch. I think already a bit of Grand Prix experience. You can see the Ángel Nieto guys there. Those guys, again, pretty close company for teammates out there. We've seen some close manoeuvres between Ángel Nieto bikes in all classes today. So some nervous faces. I think I'd love to have the heart rate monitor down there on the likes of Gino Borso. We saw Maverick Vinales with the heart rate monitor on during the course of one of the sessions in Malaysia. I think the heart rate in Aspar will be a lot higher. That's Asman that's gone down there on the number 39 machine. Just keep an eye on the right hand side of the shot. Lost it very early on the run down in towards turn 4 there. So unfortunately for Asman, his season looks like it's probably coming to an end. Carlos Tatay, though, leading the way here once again, and the gap between himself and the chasing pack, it's up to 2/3 of a second. You can see Artigas on the 24 trying to make sure that he's able to move his way up to the front of this group. He's gone from 5th to 3rd position in this leading group, and now he's going to try and put the pressure on to Ryusei Yamanaka to try and get himself up into second spot. David Salvador able to be aggressive at the back of this group as well to try and attack. Keep an eye out for the number 38 machine. He's just trying to duff up Yuki Cooney there at the back of this shot. And inside this leading group, though, you can see once again all these riders just trying to shuffle their way through, including the likes of José García there on the number 20 machine. He's been able to finish on the podium in Le Mans, finished on the podium in this morning's race as well. And now for Aleix Viu, the man that finished on the rostrum in race 1, he's trying to make sure he can get his way through as well. That's Gerard Rieu that's gone down as well on the KTM machine. So his season comes to an unfortunate conclusion. Meanwhile, at the front of the field, Carlos Tatay, he's been able to stretch out a lead now. That looks like it's up to around about a second between himself and Ryusei Yamanaka. So opening up that gap as José García moves himself up into second position now as well. And a big moment there for the Aspar bike. That looks like it was Aleix Viu just getting out of his saddle there. See on the run down in towards the end of the lap now. This is where we'll tend to see an awful lot of riders attacking one another. It's all about getting the run down through turn 13. There's still 10 laps to go, 9 laps to go whenever they come across the line. So we're only at halfway through this race, and already this leading group is starting to fight with one another. It's starting to splinter, and that's what's allowing Carlos Tatay to open up a gap. Tatay, of course, having won 3 times already this season. He's trying to finish the season strong with a 4th win of the season for the Red Bull Rookies Cup winner for 2019. You can see in that scrap for 2nd spot, Barry Baltas there just getting ran out wide on the entry and having to collect himself. This is the move that we saw from Jose Garcia down the inside on Yamanaka, Fran, and keep an eye out for Aleix Viu there. Just a big moment.
Yeah, getting a little bit close out there, and Garcia, not one we've seen much aggression from at all today. So yeah, up to old tricks in race 2 again. But yeah, good stuff from him, and they've been fairly clean manoeuvres, to be fair to him. They've just been pretty aggressive.
Yeah, and for Garcia, that's been what he's done at times through this year as well. If you look at Le Mans in the tricky conditions, he did something similar to manage to finish on the podium there. You can see Aleix Viu once again running in a little bit too hot. He's tapping his tail unit. He's saying, Carlos Tatay is getting away. We need to be able to work together. Otherwise, the chances of winning this race are long gone. And I tell you what, Fran, we don't tend to see an awful lot of times where Moto3 riders work together. Yeah,
it's interesting because it's the class where it moves. Oh, big crash there. And it's Viu who's gone down. Oof.
It's Salvador as well. And Garcia's down.
Pretty much everyone in that front group then affected by that, except Tatay, who was in the lead. It looks like everyone managed to avoid getting hit by any of those machines or riders, but big drama then with Viu going down just after tapping that seat unit, pushing obviously a little bit too hard, but hopefully we'll get confirmation that everyone is up and okay after that.
Yeah, unfortunately a few riders did follow him in that incident as well, and you can see for Aleix Viu it's been a real up and down season for him. He finished on the podium here in race 1, he finishes on the ground in race 2, his season comes to a close. At Salvador as well, and unfortunately for David Salvador, he's looked quite strong all the way through today's racing, and it looks like he's taken a bit of a knock there onto his right ankle as well. You can see him just hobbling away. The gap now at the front, it's just under 3 seconds between Barry Baltas that we see there on the number 7 machine and the race leader Carlos Tatay. But you can see now with Aleix Viu just offering his apologies to the other riders involved in that incident. Let's have a replay of it now as well. You can see just how early it gets lost as well there from Viu. We didn't actually really get to catch too much of it there, Fran.
No, we didn't. So, yeah, so you can see they just slides out and really lucky to get avoided there.
Unfortunately, this is very reminiscent of what happened in Catalonia as well, where Aleix Viu in race 1 crashed, took out another couple of riders as well. And as you can see there, for all 3 of those riders, just making sure that each other are all right and that the bikes get cleared up. At least the marshals are able to get their job done, and we're able to keep racing here as we move into the final third of the race. It's opened up a big gap for Carlos Tatay, and one thing that we've seen from Tatay, Fran, all the way through the season is whenever he's presented with an opportunity, he doesn't tend to let it slip.
Yeah, absolutely. And we do have a track limits warning though. Interestingly, for this man, the man on the chase behind Tatay in that race lead, Barry Baltas. So have to see the Belgian now has to keep his powder a little bit drier and just avoid that green stuff too much and not gain any key advantage from it. But it's Artigas just behind him as well. So a couple of the guys from that ETC stable, and then now reigning champion Jeremy Alcoba. So there are a few guys who might be able to reel in Tatay, but at the moment he's pretty solid at the front as the Spaniard, and it's a sizable gap that he's got, especially with that hole being punched in the chasing pack by that Viu crash.
Yeah, you wouldn't fancy trying to make up 3 seconds in 7.5 laps around this Valencia circuit on a Moto3 bike. So as it stands right now, and you can see Baltas has been given that warning as well by the team. They're telling him that you've exceeded those track limits, you need to watch yourself for the rest of this race. Once you get that warning, Fran, it really is a case of you're then on that watch list. If you run wide again, you will get a penalty.
Yeah, most definitely. You will have the eagle eye of race direction looking down on you and your exploits. And yeah, at the moment then Baltas can go in his merry way and not get any penalty, but if he does repeat that offence, then he will get a penalty, I'm sure, and I'm sure it will be a long lap penalty based on what we've already seen so far today. But it's all some pretty interesting lines from those guys there on the chase. I don't think they're going to be able to do anything about Tatay at all if they are going to have this big squabble.
Yeah, they're not going to be able to do anything about Tatay because the gap is too big. With 6.5 laps to go, you have to be half a second a lap faster. Right now they're only pulling in about 1/10 of a second on Carlos Tatay, so not nearly enough, and they're still scrapping with one another. You can see Alcoba just trying to make sure that he's able to put his bike into a position to try and attack what looks like Yamanaka on the run down in towards the left-hander, and that's aggressive there from Jeremy Alcoba, but he's also able to make the move nice and cleanly. His teammate follows him through as well. So you can see there the number 25 of Adrian Hernandez able to move himself up into those leading positions now as well. So good stuff there from Fernandez.
Yeah, that was good to be able to follow his teammate Alcoba through, like you said. But Yamanaka really losing out there, mainly from just giving just enough space to Alcoba, then also ceded that position to Fernandez right behind him. But yeah, Yamanaka is still in a good position to try and attack for this podium at the moment. And at the moment, it is Artigas versus Baltus, getting pretty close at the front. But it looks like these guys now, the two Leglise machines, going to attack into turn 1.
And you can see Fernandez on the 25, he's under attack as well from Ryusei Yamanaka. Yamanaka on the 6, is he going to be able to make up a couple of places? Alcoba, the champion, he's moved himself up into 3rd position. The gap between the race leader, Carlos Tatay, and Barry Baltus in the 2nd spot, that's over 3 seconds now. So the race leader's gone. It's all about who's able to finish on the podium at the front of this group as well. So right now it is Barry Baltus. And you'd be a brave person to bet on the result staying as it is right now, because this group, Fran, they've been changing places all the way through.
They really have, and they've pulled in a couple of tenths before on Tatay, and then as we've seen, just craziness erupt once again. Yet they've just lost even more ground, and like you say, I think it's much too big an ask now to try and chase down the number 99 machine, who barring any serious mistakes, looks like he is going to win this final race of the season. But Fernandez then looking pretty feisty against his teammate and now reigning champion Alcoba. Obviously the pressure's off now, so I'm sure they can race each other without any special warnings from the team to just be a little bit extra careful. But at the moment, solid race from Fernandez, and up from a little bit further back on the grid as well. Yeah,
Fernandez doing a good job. He's had 3 top 10 finishes already this season, but he hasn't been able to fight it out for race victories or podiums. So this is the best we've really seen from him all the way through this season so far. And the number 25, is he going to be in a position to try and attack his teammate there? And you can see with Baltus still able to hold on to that position in 2nd spot, but it is a case of Alcoba against Fernandez now in the scrap for 3rd position, and Fran, that final step on the podium.
It is very much a well, I think it's a good few riders still in this scrap for the podium, with still 5 laps to go. We've got the 2 Leglise machines, Baltus still in there, Artigas still in there, Estrella Galicia guys just behind them as well. It does look a little bit like they've caught up some ground on Tatay, but like we said, I'm sure he's much too far out of reach now to try and get on terms with him. But yeah, these guys then, there's an awful lot of people in this group who are going to get disappointed, because there's 7 of them and there's 2 places on the podium up for grabs.
Yeah, exactly, and you can see with Barry Baltus, number 7 in this group of 7, he's out there trying to make sure that he's able to keep himself at the front of this group. We've got 4.5 laps to go, so the clock really is starting to tick down. I have to say, Fernandez, though, looks really impressive, doesn't he? Brother, of course, of Raul, the Moto3 World Championship rider, and this is the first time where he's really looked like he's been able to bring this fight in the Moto3 Junior World Championship this season.
Yeah, it is. He's having a really solid ride, like we said, from a little bit further back on the grid. I think he was 19th or 20th on the grid. So yeah, really solid ride from him, but not just able to capitalise on those few fallers and get himself in the right position, but also looking pretty racy with it as well. He's really in touch with these guys, and yeah, able to stay with his teammate, who is the newly crowned champion. So impressive stuff from him.
Yeah, Alcoba, he's been able to keep his leathers clean for the last half dozen laps for Han after that frantic start to the race. And Alcoba, certainly, he's once again putting himself into a position to be able to attack. But you can see here with Fernandez, is he going to be able to get down the inside into that last corner? Nice clean move from Fernandez. As I said, Fran, this is as good as we've seen from him all the way through this season.
Most definitely is, and it'll be interesting to see again into turn 1 now who is going to win the great 3 abreast Moto3 shuffle that we traditionally get down here. But yeah, it looks like it's going to be Artigas. No, not quite able to at least get Baltus, but back into this podium fight then at the sharp end of it is the number 24. And great race from him as well, but Baltus looking pretty strong in that 2nd position at the moment, not been too bothered for a good couple of laps.
Yeah, Costa as well on the number 37 machine, able to get himself up there into those leading positions. He's doing a good job as well here on only his 3rd weekend of CEV action. He was at the front of the field at the start of race 1, ran out wide though and then dropped down the order. But once again, Fran, we're able to see the multiple Red Bull Rookies Cup race winner able to get himself in and amongst it at the front of this field. Barry Baltas though, race winner of the opening round of the year in Estoril, and he's really been able to do a solid job here again today to be able to keep himself up into that second spot. Looks like we've got a long lap penalty for the number 32, that's Noguchi, and that's for repeated offences of running outside the track limits. So unfortunately there for Noguchi, he's going to drop down the order. He's currently in 10th place, Fran, and this has been probably one of the better shows we've seen from him lately as well.
Yeah, it is. So that's a shame for the number 32. Got a bit of an ATC match on there with Dennis Onchu just ahead of him. Looks like he will drop a few positions because it's a little bit of a group there as well. So that's going to be a heartbreaker for Noguchi. But if he does get it done quickly, he at least does have a couple of laps left to try and gain those positions back if he can. But yeah, he'll have to head around that long lap penalty pretty soon.
You can see Carlos Tatay, he's got no real concerns for himself. He's got a comfortable lead, still lapping pretty fast times as well. He's got over 3 seconds at the front of the field from Barry Baltas. So for Carlos Tatay, he's on course for that 4th victory of the season. You can see for Artigas, Fran, he's always able to keep getting himself into position to try and attack to move to the front of this group. And Fernandez once again as well looking like he's got a real chance of fighting for the podium. Acosta down the inside though, and Pedro able to make that move. But it looks like he might have just ran out a little bit wide there as well, Fran.
Yeah, a little bit wide there, but able to keep that position. But Baltas looks pretty solid at the head of this group. No one was able to attack him last time around, although Artigas getting increasingly closer into turn 1, just not quite able to make that move without a risk of slightly ramming his old ETC sparring partner into turn 1.
Yeah, I think that even in the Moto3 class at this stage of the race, you're not thinking too much about the battering ram moves, but you will in a couple of laps' time whenever it's all about trying to make the moves to get onto the podium spots. You can see there from Acosta, though, again, able to defend really well from the Legalese rider there to be able to keep in front of Fernandez. Good riding there from Acosta on that number 37 machine.
Yeah, definitely, and he has, like we've said, been pretty impressive since arriving here, so good stuff from him and still very much in this fight for the podium. And I think maybe Dennis Onchu is bringing those guys a little bit closer to this group. And yeah, if it ends up with a really big freight train, that could be very interesting.
Yeah, the gap between Onchu and the back of this group still needs to make up over a second. But with the scrap as it's going to be, Fran, you could easily lose quite a bit of time. As you can see with Alcoba, he's lost a bit of time over the last few laps. Just by falling to the back of this group, you start to fight with one another. It's very easy to get yourself caught out. You can see there, that's Noguchi being given that long lap penalty. Also, Andrei JWCh, the Czech rider, also being given a long lap penalty as well. This is the 53 of Dennis Onchu. He's got 2 laps to try and close up on that group in front of him. The 32 is Noguchi that's going to have that long lap penalty, but Onchu is right there now as well, Fran, just keeping himself in a position. But with only a lap and a half to go, you then have to try and get through this group as well.
Yeah, you do. You have to go full on me at turn 1 on the PlayStation mode and just absolutely blitz past. So yeah, it's a pretty big ask, but if we did have a couple of laps left longer in this race, then I think maybe they would have been able to catch him. But it's going to be interesting as well to see if Noguchi's seen that penalty or if he's going to make Onju's life that little bit harder as well, still trying to race the Turk ahead of him before taking that penalty.
Yeah, the PlayStation line through turn 1 has been quite popular all the way through this weekend. In fairness, though, the car park route has probably been the most popular. We saw some riders really wide all the way through turn 1, but it's been pretty clean all the way through in this Moto3 race. The final laps of the 2019 season coming to a close, and now it's all about who's able to stand on the podium, because as you can see with Noguchi, he does take that long lap penalty. But who's able to stand on the podium, because Barry Baltas looks really strong, Fran. You also have the likes of Artigas trying to make sure he finishes his season on a high as well. So all these riders, they're now a lap and a half from the end of the season.
They are indeed. And yeah, Tatay then a lap and a half from ending the year on the top step. But the rest of them, I think it's all going to be the final corner again and another great Moto3 shuffle to end this season. Or, of course, we could have another dramatic last lap, as we've seen so often. They thunder past our commentary box, and there's no daylight, really, between a good few riders at the front of this field. And it looks like it's going to be Baltas again, really strong into turn 1, the Belgian.
Yeah, the last lap of the 2019 season now drawing in, and you can see with Barry Baltas, he's been able to put himself into that second spot right now, but Artigas trying to attack once again, and Fernandez Fernandez. Fernandez hasn't stood on the podium through this CEV Moto3 season, but he's put himself into a position to really give himself that opportunity. You can see with Pedro Acosta as well there on the number 37 machine. He's also trying to fight his way up onto that podium spot as well. Really good to be able to see so many young riders here, Fran, as well, battling it out at the front. You've got Baltas, Fernandez, Artigas and Acosta, all riders in their first or second year in the CEV Moto3 Championship.
Yeah, exactly. It's really great to see these guys have really made an immediate impact, especially Artigas, like we said, this season. Really impressive stuff from the number 24, and Baltas as well, a fairly new face on the scene, and it looks like he's in good contention to get another podium at the Belgian, so really good stuff. The race leader though, still got plenty of daylight. He's going to be under no pressure through that final corner and on his way to the line, but these guys, I think it's still everything to play for, although Baltas got a couple of meters there.
Yeah, Tatay's been and gone. This is the key area of the track now, whether or not you're able to open up a little bit of a gap. Baltas has managed to open that gap, but you can see for Artigas on the 24, is he close enough to try and attack on the 25 of Adrian Fernandez. This is Carlos Tatay, the man that's second in the Junior World Championship, the man that picked up the Red Bull Rookies Cup success this season. He's in a position to pick up his 4th race victory of the season, and he's going to be able to do that on the number 99 machine. 4 wins for the season for Carlos Tatay. Finishes the season as a runner-up. Who finishes runner-up in this race? It looks to get Baltas across the line, and maybe Adrian Hernandez has been able to claim that first career podium in the CEV Moto3 Junior World Championship. He's certainly celebrating like he finished 3rd.
He is, and the timing screen says he did, but it's incredibly close. Just got a few hundredths of a second between those guys, but I think it is looking like it's Fernandez then, first podium. Impressive stuff from him.
Yeah, really impressive stuff from Fernandez. He came through the field to be able to do that. Really impressive from Carlos Tatay as well, though, Fran.
Yeah, most definitely. You can see celebrating there in the runoff area. Good stuff from him. Great season. Not quite able to challenge Alcoba all the way to the wire in this race for the crown, but another win for him. And like we said, rookies champion already. Pretty good season. Yeah,
solid season for Carlos Tatay. He'll be stepping up to the Moto3 World Championship next year, and very much a deserved promotion for him as well. He's been strong in the Rookies Cup, he's been strong in the CEV Championship. We talked earlier on about the fact that we still haven't seen anyone do the double of a Rookies Cup and also the CEV Moto3 Junior World Championship, but Carlos Tatay certainly gave it a good shot to be able to do that.
He most definitely did. Yeah, like I said earlier, I thought it was going to be Cooney before those injury troubles, but Tatay then coming the closest we've seen, and yeah, just going to be a few points shy by the end of it, and the man in the special leathers then able to celebrate his championship with another solid race, but no podium, and just on the fringes of the top 10 was Alcoba today. And, or I should say this afternoon.
And for all these riders, they now get the chance to finish their season on a high. And for the likes of Artigas, he also finishes the season on a high. He's been able to finish 3rd in the championship standings, manages to hold off Barry Baltas by just a few points. But those 2 riders really have impressed all the way through this season, with Baltas winning the opening race of the year in Estoril, and then Artigas have picked up a race victory in Aragon and a host of podiums as well through the course of the season. See there for Yamanaka, race winner here in Valencia earlier in the season, and he finishes the season in 7th spot, but he'll be moving up to the World Championship next year. You can see for Carlos Tatay, he finishes the season in style with his celebrations, and that victory once again just cementing his place as the rider with the most wins through the course of the 2019 Junior World Championship. Daniel Holgado also making his way back to the pits as well. Holgado, as a rookie, has been able to do a really good job, and he'll be able to hold his head up high. He's probably able to finish inside the top 6 in the championship standings as a rookie there, so really good stuff from Danny Holgado to do that. You can see down there with Fernandez down there celebrating his first podium. His brother Raul also down there, of course, and for Fernandez, another opportunity to be able to show what he can do and show that he can stand on his own 2 feet as well. His first career podium in the CEV Moto3 Junior World Championship. Really good stuff there from Fernandez, and he came through the field really well too to do that, and able to finish in 3rd spot, just missing out on that 2nd spot by 0.05 of a second. You can see here with Carlos Tatay celebrating down there in Parc Ferme, and rightly so after that result. Yeah, you can hear what it means for the team as well. We'll be able to hear from Carlos in not too long after he finishes up on the podium. He'll be talking to Fran Weil down there in Parc Ferme, and for Carlos, you can see what it means for him to have picked up this race victory as well. For Tatay, it's been a season where he's been able to win races at the double in Jerez. He also was able to win in Catalonia, and now he's been able to claim the success in Valencia as well. So 4 race victories through the course of the season. Just didn't quite have the same consistency as Jeremy Alcoba. Alcoba scored points all the way through the season, and that's what allowed him to win this championship, whereas for Carlos Tatay, the non-scores here in Valencia at the start of the season, that was the difference between him winning and really being able to fight for this World Championship right until the end. But a solid season nonetheless, especially whenever you consider his success in the Red Bull Rookies Cup as well. That's Barry Baltas down there celebrating, of course. For Barry, he picked up the race victory at the start of the season in Estoril in the wet conditions. He also picked up 2 podiums in Catalonia, where he finished second in both races, once behind Carlos Tatay and once behind Jeremy Alcoba, our junior world champion. So for Barry, this has been another really solid campaign, and he's been able to really cement himself as a coming man of this class as well for the Belgian rider, living up to the hype of what he achieved in that opening race of the season in Estoril. And for Baltas, he'll finish 4th in the Junior World Championship, his 2nd season in the class, and certainly he'll give himself a lot to build on for next season in this class as well. And for the Ángel Nieto team, they've been able to enjoy a really successful season with Baltas. They also have Aleix Viu. Of course, Viu in this race had that crash that took him out of proceedings. These are the highlights from race 2, the final race of the 2019 FIM CEV Repsol Moto3 Junior World Championship. Davide Pezzoli started on pole, but he bogged down off the line, and right from the outset it was Carlos Tatay trying to fight his way through to the front. He led in those early stages, but Artigas was able to take that whole shot. But for Artigas, once again, we saw just how strong he can be in this class. There were a few crashers through the race, including for both of the sick riders, and you can see at the front of the field Artigas was overtaken there by Carlos Tatay, and from that point on Tatay just tried to do what he could to make sure he stayed at the front of the field, trying to make sure he was in a position to be able to take advantage if any misfortune befell riders behind him. That was the crash with Herral and also poleman Pezzoli, but it wasn't the only crash we saw during the race. You could see the encouragement being given to the riders in that leading group, but unfortunately we saw a little bit too much encouragement from a couple of riders, and that included the likes of Aleix Viu, that we saw have a big moment, a high side that unfortunately took out another couple of riders as well. That's one of the moments for Aleix Viu. It was only a bit of a warning for him. This is the move that he made on Yamanaka, and then a couple of corners later, this is the move that brought an end to his race. Big high side, and it just ended up where Salvador had nowhere else to go, and also Garcia as well. So those 3 riders all involved in the crash, and Salvador just limped away from that. Hopefully he's all right. You can see for Barry Baltas, he was given a warning there for exceeding track limits. He made sure he was nice and clean all the way through to the end of the race, and he stayed at the front of that group all the way through until the checkered flag, and he was able to take 2nd spot behind Carlos Tatay. Tatay with his 4th win of the campaign, and this was a dominant win, able to open up a gap, as it was in the checkered flag, of just under 2 seconds to be able to take that win. Barry Baltas and Adrian Fernandez able to claim his first ever CEV Moto3 Junior World Championship podium. You can see there with Carlos Tatay, pretty happy with that result, pretty happy to wrap up this season as well. He finished 2nd in the CEV Championship. He also picked up the Red Bull Rookies Cup success, so he's really been able to have a very successful season all the way through. Big stamp there from Carlos as he gets himself up onto the podium, and another race victory for him. He's up there in front of Barry Baltas. Baltas has picked up 4 podiums through the course of this season, and the first ever podium for Adrian Fernandez in the CEV Moto3 class as well. Team trophy being awarded there, and for everyone involved with the Andreas Pérez Foundation team, another successful season for them, and another successful race weekend for them as well. Adrian Fernandez able to pick up his trophy for finishing in 3rd. He gets that from Frank Weissier from the FIM. And for Adrian, his first podium will be one he'll long remember. And really good performance there from the number 25 machine. And again, all the way through this season, he's been able to steadily build, and the rewards being felt with that podium. Barry Balta started the year strong, finishes the year strong, finishes the year 4th in the Junior World Championship as well for the Ángel Nieto team. Carlos Tatay wants to get his hands on this trophy for the race winner here in Valencia in the CEV Moto3 class, and he can see what that success means for him. He might have missed out in the championship, but having already wrapped up the Red Bull Rookies Cup and picked up 4 race wins through the course of the season, he's got plenty to celebrate, and he'll be a really interesting rider to keep an eye on next season in the Moto3 World Championship. Just about to hear now the Spanish national anthem for our victor, Carlos Tatay, and for another time today we'll hear the Spanish anthem. Carlos Tatay able to celebrate his success here in Valencia, where he's been able to claim a 4th win of the season. We're going to get the opportunity to hear from Carlos in a couple of moments' time when he talks to Fran Wild after this victory. And for Carlos, he was able to take advantage of the problems that befell some of the other riders around him, and he's certainly enjoying his time up there on the podium. And rightly so. It's been a stellar season for Carlos to be able to have as much success as he has enjoyed through the course of this season. As I said, he'll be moving on to the Moto3 World Championship next year. So for Carlos Tatay, for Barry Baltus, for Adrian Fernandez, the final day of the 2019 CEV Moto3 season comes to a close with a memorable podium. All 3 riders absolutely thrilled to be up there. Carlos ended up taking the checkered flag by 1.5 seconds from Barry Baltus, with Adrian Fernandez up there in 3rd. Xavier Artigas missed out by just 0.5 of a second, and Daniel Holgado rounds out his season with a 5th place finish. Really impressive rookie campaign from Holgado and also Artigas. Pedro Acosta with another strong performance here. He was in that lead group all the way through the race, finishes in 6th position, just in front of Ryusei Yamanaka. Yamanaka, of course, moving up to the Moto3 World Championship next year. The champion, Jeremy Alcoba, finishes off the season with a top 10 finish, but the job was already done in race 1 through the course of today. Further down the order, Jason Jupasquier finishes in 15th spot. Looks like he's going to be moving up to the Moto3 World Championship next year. Billy Van Erde finishes in 16th, misses out on points, but at least for Van Erde, this was a much more competitive showing today than what we've seen at times through the course of this campaign. So we'll be able to hear from Carlos Tatay, our race winner here in Valencia.
So Carlos, another win here in the CEV to add to your Rookies Cup success this year. Great season, you must be happy with that.
Yeah, I'm really happy with this season. It's just incredible. Finishing, winning the Red Bull Rookies Cup, and here winning the last race of the championship. It's just incredible. And here in Valencia, it wasn't a track that it's not one of my favorites. So I struggle a bit, but finally making like this with a good distance between the second one. Yeah, just incredible, and thank you to my team, to my family that came to support me, and to everybody that made this possible.
Enhorabuena, y en castellano también, porfa.
Sí, la verdad que ha sido una temporada increíble, es algo increíble ganar la Red Bull Rookies Cup y después llegar aquí y ganar en Valencia, un circuito que no es de los que se me da muy bien, pero al final ganar con distancia al segundo es algo que nunca había pensado. He intentado tirar desde el principio y al final conseguirlo es algo brutal, así que agradecérselo a todo el equipo por su apoyo, a mi familia que ha venido a verme y a todos los que hacen esto posible, a mis managers y a todos, porque sin ellos no hubiera sido posible.
Gracias.
Nada.
Tell you what, it's a good thing that Carlos doesn't have to put his helmet back on again, because the smile, as wide as it is, he'd struggle to fit into it. It's been a really successful season for Carlos Tatay, as he said to Fran there, having won the Red Bull Rookies Cup and now having finished second in the CEV Moto3 Junior World Championship. Really impressive from Carlos, and impressive all the way through today as well, to be able to claim his 4th race victory of the 2019 season. Izan Guevara, the 2019 European Talent Cup champion. Been a dominant campaign for Izan Guevara to claim the European Talent Cup champion. He follows the footsteps of the likes of Javier Artigas and Manuel Gonzalez to claim this crown, and all the way through this season he really was the man to beat. He missed out on racing here today in the European Talent Cup to step up and race in the Moto3 Junior World Championship, but now he gets the opportunity to claim his title. And for Guevara, with so many race wins all the way through the season, 6 in a row mid-season, that was the foundation of his championship success. Second in the European Talent Cup was Ivan Ortola. He missed out on that championship success, but a really strong campaign that ended with his successes in today's race here in Valencia. Third went to Ferman Aldeguer as well, and for Aldeguer he finished the season strong with a podium finish here in Valencia. But Izan Guevara was the man to beat all the way through the campaign. For Guevara, the opportunity to step up to the Moto3 field today and for next season really does open the doors of possibilities for him. Last year's champion Javier Artigas had a really strong campaign and was able to win races in the Moto3 class, so it does show exactly what's possible for these riders in the European Talent Cup series going forward. Of course, Manuel Gonzalez, the inaugural European Talent Cup champion, he's already a world champion in the World Supersport 300 class. What will we see in the future from Izan Guevara? At the conclusion of the championship, Guevara managed to hold a 58-point advantage from Ortola, and his dominance was complete all the way through the season. Aldeguer was able to finish in third by 4 points from Rueda after a really exciting conclusion to the 2019 European Talent Cup. Edgar Pons wrapped up his second Moto2 European Championship with his successes in Albacete, confirming his status as the man to beat in this class. For Pons, it was a season where he's been able to finish on the podium at all but 2 rounds, and that consistency was the difference between himself and Hector Garzo at the end of the championship standings, with Alessandro Zaccone able to finish in third in the standings. For Zaccone, former Supersport rider, to have adapted so well to a Moto2 bike this season, he was able to win on his debut in Estoril in damp conditions. But for Zacconi, third in the championship standings, just not quite able to get himself close enough to this man, Hector Garzo. Garzo and Pons were the class of the field. Garzo's going to have an opportunity to win the Moto3 Cup next weekend here in Valencia, but he has to look on as Edgar Pons claims the Moto2 European Championship once again. Pons has been the man to beat throughout his time in the CEV Moto2 class, and once again able to win today in a last lap fight against Hector Garzo that really did just show the story of their 2019 seasons, with Pons coming out just on top from Garzo. The championship standings in the Moto2 European Championship for 2019 saw Edgar Pons leading from Hector Garzo by 38 points. Pons was crowned champion at the penultimate round of the season. Alessandro Zacconi was able to beat out Tommaso Marcon on a countback of victories to claim third in the championship standings as well. Marcon had a penalty here in Valencia that ended up relegating him down to fourth in the championship standings. Jeremy Alcoba wrapped up the FIM CEV Repsol Moto3 Junior World Championship for 2019 with a race victory here in Valencia. He was going to make sure that the pressure got to him. He wanted to make sure he went out and clinched his title in style, and he certainly did that. Consistency was the key all the way through this year for Alcoba, and he was able to claim that race victory and podiums pretty much all the way through the season. That was the difference between himself and Carlos Tatay at the end. For Javier Artigas, he stood on the rostrum here as the champion for the European Talent Cup last season. Now he's in there in third as a rookie in the Moto3 class, and once again just showing his class all the way through this season. Finishes the year strong, and he was able to pick up a race victory as a rookie in Aragon. Carlos Tatay adds a silver medal here in the Junior World Championship to his Red Bull rookie success. 4 race victories through the season showed just how good of a job he had done. But Jeremy Alcoba's consistency throughout the campaign was the difference between those riders. Alcoba picks up the Junior World Championship.
Esa fotografía para el recuerdo de los 3 pilotos de Jeremy Alcoba, flanqueado por Carlos Tatay y Xavi Artigas.
As you can see from the championship standings for the Moto3 Junior World Championship, Jeremy Alcoba ends up taking this title by 45 points from Carlos Tatay. That doesn't really reflect on just how close a battle they had throughout the course of this campaign. Javier Artigas, as a rookie, manages to finish third in the standings, with Barry Baltas just missing out by 3 points from his rival. So from Valencia, thanks for joining us. Myself, Steve English, and Fran Wild signing off after a thrilling end to the 2019 CEV season. And once again, we'll wait until next year for the chance for these riders to step up into either the World Championship or see who can fill the boots of the likes of Jeremy Alcoba. Thank you for joining us through the course of this 2019 season.
Yes, thank you very much, and we'll see you again for 2020.